live. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. I always get it confused because I know some of you actually are not even working this week. Let me know where you're chiming in from, where you're coming from. If you're watching this on the replay, still let me know where you're coming from. Drop it in the comments. Are you all in school this week? Some people are having like ski week, President's Week off. This is not a thing at the schools that I work at, but I love that for you if you are off. So welcome in. Let me know where you're coming from. I see Minnesota's in the house. Awesome. Let me know if you are working this week. Let's talk about Read Across America. This is going to be just an action-packed conversation. Oh, PA, Pennsylvania. Awesome. We're going to be very specifically talking about Read Across America. And then, of course, we'll have some time for Q&A. But I wanted to make sure I shared some ideas and some strategies with you all. And I know these are the kind of videos that folks always ask me for what to do. So we're going to jump into really tactical stuff. I'm also going to be reposting this so you can watch it, hopefully in the future. I have talked about Read Across America and Dr. Suess and why you shouldn't center Dr. Suess. And there are a lot of creators that have talked about not centering Dr. Suess. So hopefully you're all familiar with that. If you're not familiar with why we should be moving away from Dr. Suess and decentering Suess and Read Across America, there are a lot of articles. There was recently one that I shared in my newsletter, just kind of giving you all some information. I don't like to use the language of canceled, but it is important that we talk about the legacy of Dr. Suess and be open and honest about who he was. Metro Atlanta. How is Atlanta? Every week I have this thought, should I move to Atlanta? Should I just do it? People had a 5-day weekend. Okay, New York is off for President's Day. Awesome. Chicago, ski week. I love it. It's actually, New Jersey. Fun. Okay. So Read Across America, if you're not familiar, a lot of middle schools and high schools don't quite do it up the way that, I'm trying to wave at everybody here, the way that elementary schools do it up. Oh, the Bronx. Okay, awesome. I think you guys are off too, correct? But basically it's an opportunity to just talk about reading, to focus on reading for a week. It can really be whatever you want to make it. When I was a kid, I know we celebrated Dr. Seuss's birthday when I was a kid, but what we also did was that was when our Scholastic Book Fair happened. Are people still doing the Scholastic Book Fair? Because I have never worked in a school with a book fair, and I've campaigned to bring it back, but I never had the logistics. But let me know if people are still doing the Scholastic Book Fair. Book Fair is a great time to talk about Read Across America as well. You can have drop everything and read parties. You can have book challenges. There's 1,000 ways to do this. Georgia teachers are getting a raise. Okay, y'all are really selling me on Atlanta. I don't know. So there's a lot of ways to make it super fun. Why are we decentering Dr. Suess? Like I said, there are some articles, but to be brief, as a person, Dr. Suess was not a great guy and had a lot of, I want to be careful about what I say because sometimes I can get censored on here. So Dr. Suess, you should look into it, who he was as a person. And then also keep in mind, his books are really great for teaching rhymings, but I've actually worked with a lot of lower elementary teachers who don't like using his books because they have a lot of nonsense words. I know he did create some words. I know that there are some literary benefits to his works, but there are a lot of books that you can use that are just as impactful for those same techniques, literary devices, phonics, whatever it is, but aren't as controversial. So I will share more resources about that, but what to do for Read Across America. And mind you, if you're saying, Deanna, I don't have time to plan because maybe you're on break or maybe you just need some time to get your ducks in a row, any week can be Read Across America week. Any week your school leader can say, hey, we're going to focus on reading this week. Any week you and your grade level can be like, hey, third grade's focusing on reading this week. You don't have to wait for the official week. In the same way that I always say with Black History Month people are like, oh, Black History Month is over. I didn't get a chance to do Do it in March. Do it in January. Do it all year long, right? So if you feel like you didn't get a chance to plan Read Across America, you can still do it later. Let's see. People are having Scholastic Book Fairs. That's awesome. Maybe it's because I'm in California. I don't know. I'm glad for you though. That was a core memory. I never had any money to buy any of the books, unfortunately, but I do remember going and loving it. So, I want to talk to you about some things that you can do for Read Across America or just to celebrate literacy school-wide. And again, this can be any week. So the first thing is, and I love this idea, is guest readers. So I know schools with COVID weren't letting people in, but now it seems like most schools, at least the ones that I'm in contact with and the ones that in the district I'm working at, they allow people to come in now. And so if you haven't already had guest readers, and this could be local celebrities, people that are prominent in the community. When I worked at a school in the Bay Area, we had some of the Warrior players come in. This is back when the Warriors were really popping off in 2016, I think is when the Warriors were really big. We had some Warrior players come in and read and do literacy, or this can just be people's just parents. My mom came in. And my flex is my mom was the most popular reader because she did all of the voices. So my mom would come into the classroom and read, but it's a great opportunity to build trust with community, with families, with stakeholders, have guest readers come in. A couple of people read a day. The principal can be a guest reader. A district person can be a guest reader. And then you can try to get them into your classroom, see the reality of what we're coping with here. So there's kind of two things happening there. But guest readers are a great way to just bring more people in, get kids excited about literacy. If you're in the LA area, let me know and I would love to come read to your kids. But guest readers are great and they can bring their favorite book or the favorite book that they had when they were the age of the students. Are you following me? If you're going into third grade, get your favorite book when you were in third grade. And read to the kids, and it can be such a fun opportunity. So that is one way to bring in Read Across America Week and decenter Dr. Seuss. Another thing is book talks. So this is just an opportunity, again, for anybody, depending on the age of the students or the teachers, just people in the building sharing their favorite book. When I worked at a school, one of the charter schools that I worked out, we actually had people the IAs, the Rec A team, we had a bunch of people who were support staff in the school. They would come in and they would do book talks. So kind of allowing kids to see people who were on the non-instruction side in a different light and see that they are also avid readers and get the kids excited about books that they liked. So that's one option that you can do. Sorry, I just want to make sure I have my notes here because I'm reading off my notes of things to do. So book talks, what that could look like, you just bring in a book. Let's say I'm doing a book talk on something back here. I'm doing a book talk on Goldie Muhammad's Cultivating Genius, if you can see it back there. I'd bring the book. I'd be okay, this is the book. These are that's kind of a bad example, but I talk about the characters. I would say, this is what I like about the book, and just get people excited, just talking about books that you like. I see this if you are on, the Clock app, the other app, you can see a lot of people talk about books and do book recommendations. So this is another way of doing book recommendations, but it's just live. This is a great way to get all kinds of students, families, whoever involved. Another one, and the third thing that you can do for Read Across America and just for decentering Dr. Seuss and just celebrating literacy school-wide, is a library field trip. So if you haven't already taken your students to the library, to meet the librarians, to hang out in the library, to just learn more about the Dewey Decimal System, whatever it is, library field trips are free usually if you can walk or find public transportation, or very low cost, definitely cheaper than some of the museums and that kind of thing. And it just gives kids an opportunity to go to the library. Our kids don't spend as much time at the public library. And I was just posting recently about the Milwaukee Public Library. If you don't follow them, go follow them. They're so funny. But I love that library folks and people that are into books are kind of having a resurgence. So consider taking your kids on a field trip to the library. That's another way that you can just make literacy and reading and Read Across America Week just a really fun week for your students, because who doesn't love a field trip? Anytime you say, even if you're going down the street to the park, a field trip is oh my God, field trip. So kids love field trips. The next thing is to do a book swap. So I do this a lot of times with my friends just here. We pick books that we like and we just have a little meeting and we say, okay, I like this one. You're going to give me that. Swap, swap, swap. Kids can do the same thing. You want to make sure that you bring in the caregivers, because sometimes the caregiver will be wait, I bought that for you. Where is that book going? But if you talk to families about what's going on and encourage the kids to bring a book that they love, that's a whole other day. Like, honestly, yeah, we have 5 days here. So you could do each one of these every day. Like maybe Thursday, it can be your book swap day. And then everybody brings a book that they want to share. And it just creates an opportunity to, again, get kids talking about books and literacy. I think in education, we really we had like a pivot, right? Recently, if you've been in education for a while, you know that the pendulum's always swinging. But one of the pendulum swings that we had, and let me know if y'all remember this, was we were really into like making sure that kids are reading books that are like exactly at their level, or like books that are like this, no, you have to pick between these books, and really limiting choice. And I understand the why behind that. The why was that we want kids to have a positive experience. And if a book is like way above their reading level, they might not be able to have that. But at the same time, what I think it also did was make kids like really limited in their choices. And that's why they were just going for these high interest books, like the things that they would see, I'm dating myself, but when I first started teaching was Diary of a Wimpy Kid, that was a huge one, or Captain Underpants. I don't know if you guys remember Captain Underpants, if you've been around for that long, but Captain Underpants was a thing. And then now, a lot of graphic novels and that kind of thing. So what I think we can really learn from that is kids want to read high interest books. I understand the desire to like keep it in their grade level and all of that, but like at the end of the day, they want to read something that they're interested in. They want to read something that's exciting, that's compelling. So the book swap is an opportunity to just say like, whatever your Lexile level is, whatever your reading A to Z level is, whatever, we're just gonna not worry about that. And we're just gonna let kids read what they're interested in, share their passions with books. And so I think a book swap is a really great opportunity to get those high interest reads. And y'all, once you get kids in the high interest reads, and this is kind of going on a whole other literacy tangent, but once you get kids in the high interest reads, it's so much easier. Like if you're struggling, our kids aren't wanting to read, look at the books that are in their Lexile. If you have a kid that's reading at a very low Lexile level, you might want to have them right in their zone. But if they're like a sixth grader and they only have access to books that are at a second grade level, second grade books might not be interesting. So they're not going to be interested in reading it. They have no, like if the motivation is not there because it's like, I don't want to read this. This is like a book that's not for my appropriate age group. So just think about being more open, especially during Read Across America, and being more open with like what types of books kids can be exposed to. And the last thing is, of course, very popular, and I know some schools do this at Halloween, dress like a character, dress like a book character day. You can't go wrong. I mean, talk about getting excited about literacy. Dress like a book character day. It's if you have a uniform, it's like a free dress day. Kids get into it, teachers get into it, everybody gets into it. It's like a win-win. And so I think really when I think about Read Across America, and some folks are like, well, if we don't do Dr. Seuss's birthday, what are we going to do? It's just a week about building joy with literacy. It's about bringing literacy into the forefront, being excited about it, getting kids riled up and getting riled up about reading. And there's no better way to do that than dress like a book character day. My students always loved it. Sometimes we would have a parade and like you would, stand up and say, I'm this character. One year, I think I worked at a school where the kids had to bring the book, like they had to physically have the book and then they would show it off. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it, to like add layers of just like checks and balances so it doesn't get too crazy. But Read Across America at the root is about building a joy and a love of literacy and learning and reading. So I feel like a celebration day is very appropriate. So just to review, and y'all let me know if you have, I don't see any questions. I hope I clarified that y'all can ask questions throughout. A question that I often get is this appropriate for big kids? Absolutely. Listen, I read out loud to the big kids. I do silly stuff with the big kids. The big kids love opportunities to just like get back in touch with those days. Because remember, for a lot of our kids, the best memories that they have of school is like kindergarten, first grade. When the older they get, the worse it becomes. And now these kids, a lot of them, especially the big kids, remember they had COVID. So they were probably not even in school, like fourth grade, fifth grade, or maybe they missed, some years. So their memories of like school being fun is being a little kid. So when you read to them, it kind of gets them back in touch with that. So just to review, 5 things that you can do in Read Across America, or any week that not only decenter Suess, but really have opportunities for you to have fun and build a love of literacy and learning with your students, are guest readers, local celebrities, parents, family members, whoever. Book talks, which is where people are kind of sharing their favorite book. They have a little moment and they get to like be, tell you all about the book. Or you can you can do a book talk. You can make like a commercial. A perfect little assignment. Okay, you have to make a 30-second commercial for your favorite book. Go, right? And the kids can even record it. I can see them having so much fun with that. So that's another way just to have those little book talks. Library field trips. When we did library field trips, we also always stopped at the park at the end. It was like the best day ever for my kids. Like, we would go to the library, everybody would check out a book. Librarians were hilarious and awesome. If you don't, get familiar with your local librarian. Librarians are like my favorite people on the planet. And then stop at the park on the way back. I mean, what could be better? That is just a joy-filled day, right? The fourth idea is a book swap. So again, that's where for big kids, think about it. What if they had to create a TikTok about their favorite book? Or what if they had to create a fun commercial about their favorite book? And then they did a book swap and everybody had to trade books and got really excited about it. All of these ideas, again, are just about bringing in that joy and excitement about literacy. And then the fifth day, I always live to culminate. Last day, dress like a book character day. Everybody can come and, wear their book character and then bring the book if they're able to. But it's just a fun little opportunity for kids to dress up. And I feel like some schools do this on Halloween. It has to be a book character. And I think that means that a lot of kids have already bought their Halloween costume. So they're just going to be like, oh yeah, there is a book of Spider-Man. But if you do it as part of a literacy week, they'll be more likely to actually do a book character and bring the book and talk about the book that they've read or whatever. So 5 quick ideas of how to, celebrate literacy and do Read Across America. Thank you so much for jumping on with me this afternoon. It's afternoon here in LA. I'm in LA, so it's still early, but if you're watching on the replay, let me know which of these ideas, if any, do you think you might be incorporating into your classroom? Side note, you could also totally do this with your kids at home. So if you're a caregiver or a parent watching, totally a great idea to do this with your kids as well. Let me know what strategies you'll be using. And thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to share this with your fellow teacher friends and have a wonderful afternoon.